Okay, it is 5:34 on January 24th, 2024, and I would like to call the Mashpee Public Schools Student Advisory Committee / School Committee meeting to order. First order of business is Pledge of Allegiance. Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. The Mashpee Public Schools recognize and honor the many generations of Wampanoag people who live here and have been sustained in this territory for more than 10,000 years. Because this is a joint meeting, I believe, Andrew, you need to call the Student Advisory Committee as well to order. We have a quorum for the school committee, so it is for you to call them to order.
So just like I call the January 24th, 2024 Student Advisory Committee / School Committee meeting to a start at, let's say 5:35.
That's what I have, so that works. Okay, so now we are going to ratify the agenda of January 24th, which we all have before us. Are there any changes or additions that anyone sees or needs to make at this time? Okay, hearing none, we'll call for a vote. Paige?
Yes.
Marianne?
Yes.
Silas?
Yes.
Don?
Yes.
Matt?
Yes.
Andrew?
Yes.
Eve?
Yes.
And I also am a yes, so thank you. And next, at our last school committee meeting, I believe Mr. Myers asked for a bit of a report out from the Student Advisory Committee, as well as if you would like to speak from our new food services. Don, did you want to recap what you were asking in that time, other than satisfaction, I believe was kind of the gist of, are you guys enjoying what you're being offered? Kind of any feedback you might have, because we have had a change in that.
Have we introduced them?
We have not had them introduced yet. So again, if you would like to come to, or Mrs. DeBoer can introduce you, either way.
So we are very happy to have with us this evening Kathy Kingsbury is our new food services director, and our assistant food services director and nutritionist is Kristen Holbert. So welcome to both of them. They're here to listen to student voice.
Well, welcome. So, if any of you would like to kick it off, it's kind of, don't think of it as formal, just if you have thoughts about things that have changed. I know last year there were big changes and we kind of had some more changes, but if you have anything you want to share about what you're noticing in the...
And just to give you some ideas to think about as far as your feedback, I'm curious to hear what you think about menus, think about the process. It's changed, so I believe as far as when you're going to lunches, because of the scheduling, how that works for you. Obviously, we have new leadership in food services, and how's that working for you? Do you see changes? Do you not see changes? Think about the menu. Is it something you like? Is it something you don't like? Is there something you wish you could like? That was
bring back a salad bar.
that is not currently on the menu. So just some ideas of things to talk about. Okay?
Someone else would like to go, I can kick it off. I think that many students are happy with the expanded range of options. Like, we don't just have either sandwiches or what is currently being served that day. We also have hot sandwiches, we have tacos, salads, other stuff like that. So I think a lot of students are very happy with that. And I know students like the range of choices that they can get, from cookies, chips, drinks. I know we have yogurt, fruit, and students are overall very happy about the new range. One critique that is totally no one's fault is that when we're going to get in line, it gets a little bit crazy So I think that, I don't know what it is, but it's something about getting in that school lunch line that some kids just get a little bit crazy about and start to like, yeah.
Say the Hunger Games start or
They never run
It's
out.
like the Hunger Games.
Yeah,
It's just
they've
like
never run out,
lucky.
so.
No, but third lunch, there's fewer options.
Yeah,
That
but
is true.
it's a good amount.
And I have heard that, like, do you find that if you have a later lunch, that you might not have all the options that your friend who might have had first or second lunch didn't, that they had?
Yeah, it's more in the options of what Andrew said, where they had other lunches, like, I don't know, they'll have meatball subs or hot dogs or hamburgers. There'll just be a handful of them left by third.
Do you, to follow up on that, do you find that it's important that you're first in line versus being last in line? Does it matter? Because I know you only have a certain amount of time to grab and go.
Usually I'm last in line because I like to wait for the line to die out a little bit. I'm not trying to
That's what I do too.
be crazy. But I still usually in first and second lunch, I have a good variety of options. But during third lunch when I go last, sometimes it's just like a few sandwiches left, but it's still a good variety for me, but I'm not a picky eater at all.
Do you feel that you have sufficient time to eat
I do personally.
if you're last in line? Okay.
Anyone else want to add any thoughts or comments? Is there like a school lunch from yesteryear you wish would come back into the menu rotation? Is there something you absolutely love that's new? Like,
I don't remember much from before COVID. So
Fair enough,
I was
fair enough.
reminiscing on that today. There's not much memory from before COVID and what lunch looked like before that. And personally, I don't buy lunch that much. So, I mean, I think from what I've heard, a lot of people are happy with the selection, what new has been introduced. So, yeah.
So you said you don't buy lunch. So do you take your lunch?
Yeah, I normally bring it from home.
So is that because there's not something that you would eat that's being offered?
No, I'm just a creature of habit. So,
So if what you brought is the same thing that was being served, would you eat it?
probably, I just never have thought of it. It's just a routine that I go through every single day that
Okay.
I've
But-
never been interested in changing up.
kind of piggybacking off of that question, do you notice more kids going for the free lunch option, or do you notice more kids going for like the paid additional options? Like, are you seeing, because you know how school lunches are now free, but it's like what's presented and then you have all the others around them, like, do you know?
Um,
No, I don't think so,
No?
no.
I didn't
All
think
of
so.
them?
only, all the like main lunches, to my knowledge, are free, but when you grab like chips and cookies in addition, that's like another $1.
Okay,
Kathy or,
Yeah.
Kathy
Yeah.
or Christine.
All right.
I didn't think it cost
I just wanted to make sure,
Yeah.
because I would,
get like a second like entree.
Yeah,
Yeah.
Yeah.
that makes sense.
fair enough. Okay, then never mind, not my question.
May I, we had final interviews for a principal candidate today, and one of the candidates asked the students during that panel what they loved about Mashpee, and one of the students' answer was the school lunch. And it was a ninth grade student, and so I just figured it was timely, I would share that comment.
Thank you.
And it's come up before about the sort of the rush to get into the food area. And do you think having like those, and I don't know the name of those things, like you use at an airport, that channel?
People things,
The
like a
channel
Yeah.
people into, okay, this is this door, this is that door, would do any help. And I also know that kids drop backpacks where? Right there?
Just in
Right there.
front.
Right there.
Yeah.
So I feel like there should be a better spot for dropping backpacks. And then if there's any kind of sort of people moving,
So they don't
Study.
you don't bring your backpack to your table?
We,
I feel like
Some
a lot,
do, but not all.
yeah.
a lot of like older kids will put their stuff down first, but the younger kids will put their backpack down and go in. So I don't know if that plays a role in it.
Yeah, it depends on the person. Like, I know some people that drop it in front and leave it. I personally drop it, go get my stuff, and then bring it with me to my table.
Is it just because you don't want it like around while you're, is it space at the tables that you don't bring them to the tables with
depends.
you, or?
But it's probably a problem like going through the line with like the bag.
Yeah,
and then you got
that's-
another person in.
Fair enough, but I'm just,
Yeah.
why aren't they putting the bag at the table instead
want
of
to-
right?
Because they want to get
in
in
line.
Yeah, they want to get
Yeah.
their lunch
So
first.
if they drop it right at the beginning,
Okay.
then they just run the line.
Huh,
Yeah, you don't want to go to the table first.
okay.
Then you'd be at the end of the line.
And if you're away for lunch, you could end up with.
Because it's, everyone lines up in that one
Got it.
area, and it's like a barricade.
Got
like,
it.
Yeah.
The teachers and admin are there, and they're like, wait, and then it's just.
And then the Hunger Game bell tolls.
Yeah,
and
they'll
all
stand
that
there and do
stuff.
like
Got
this,
it,
like
got
Mr.
it.
Brody's standing there like this, and I'm like, oh.
They come up out of the water.
You think there's like a new iPhone release and it's like, it's lunch.
It's chicken nuggets, man.
Heck yeah. What about breakfast? Like, do you guys take part in breakfast or, you know?
Not often. No, but I know people that do, and they find it useful. The one thing is that when people get there late and they still rely on breakfast, they can't really eat it until lunch.
Yeah.
So.
Or homeroom.
Yeah, because then it's
Oh, yeah,
not.
Can you eat in homeroom?
We're not in homeroom for 2 more blocks.
No, I know, I wasn't saying that, but I'm saying, are you allowed to eat in homeroom? I actually don't know the rules.
I don't think so.
I don't think
I don't think you're
know.
allowed.
You're not supposed to eat in any of the classrooms.
Yeah, we're not supposed to eat, so then like kids will have their breakfast, and teachers are like, you can't eat it, and they're like, but I want breakfast.
So the buses get dropped off at 8:08,
They unload, I think, at 8:06.
and then school starts at 8:20. So they have, if you're on a bus, you have to get off
And
the
if you're on a bus that actually gets there.
Right.
Well, they're all there by then.
Okay.
I think probably the people, I'm presuming that some of the challenges with getting breakfast might be a student getting dropped off late.
At 8:18.
Yeah.
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 Like,
I
you're
can
just
see
gonna have to.
I'm not gonna say I don't come in on 2 wheels at 8:18 ever.
But I will say, as a parent of a student who has recently discovered the joys of breakfast, even though she has breakfast at home, she might grab it for that snack later in the day, so.
Yeah.
Or just
Yeah, no,
preparing the
that's-
options
and
that
they
you
ha-
guys
I think
have
they have
that-
time to grab it,
you know,
Yeah.
for later, that's fine, but yeah. they have time
If
to
you
eat.
did have the ability to eat it during homeroom, or had like a chance to maybe go sit in the cafeteria for homeroom, would you do that?
I think some students definitely would. Like the students that consistently get breakfast, I definitely think they would.
And I think that's kind of the problem with, homeroom this year has proved to be good. There's some pros and some cons, and I think one of the cons is definitely kids would eat breakfast during homeroom because they had that 12-minute block to eat breakfast, and now they don't.
Fair enough.
So it kind of,
I was curious of that too, just because like that can impact the numbers that you guys see. You know what I mean? Like, if participation's there. Yeah.
Yeah.
So Kathy had mentioned possibly bringing back a salad bar. Is that something that would be
Like a
of
build your own
interest?
salad bar kind of thing? Or do you like the pre-made options?
I think we had that, or something similar to it, like 7th, 8th grade, didn't we?
Yeah, way back when.
Yeah, I was gonna say pre-COVID probably.
I would say personally, because of like COVID and just general, more aware of sickness than before, I would personally not like a salad bar. I cannot speak for other people though.
I mean, I think what we have right now is
Good.
more or less the equivalent of a salad bar.
Yeah, and it's
Yeah.
like quick and easy to just go in and grab a salad.
Yeah.
I saw a kid eat a nice grilled chicken Caesar
Oh my
salad.
gosh,
Today.
it's so good.
Looked amazing.
I've heard nothing but amazing things about this, yeah.
And now I'm hungry, so.
Yeah.
I know, this was a bad time to be talking about food. I don't think any of us, I don't know, I came right from work, so I haven't eaten dinner
I
yet.
made dinner for everyone that I left, so
I think the way that the salads are done now, and there's a variety of salad options, make it for a speedier process where kids have a limited amount of time. If you have to stop and sort of build your salad and you're waiting for the person ahead of you to decide what they're putting in their salad, it could get to be sort of a backup. And, yeah, having food open to everyone, just touching a utensil, I don't think we'll ever go back to a comfort level with that.
Fair enough.
Yeah, old, what was it, old buffet?
Country buffet.
Old country buffet.
Oh, yeah.
I just remember when they brought the salad bar first, like when I was, I think, 7th grade here, it was like a big deal. It was like, oh, we've got a salad bar. It was
Yeah,
like
no,
the
it was,
coolest
yes,
thing
it was.
Yeah.
but I know from evidence from different stuff I've been at and different summer camps
Yeah.
and stuff, like Mr. DeBoer was saying, like
Yeah.
you're waiting, and you're
No, it's a
waiting,
fair
and you're
point.
waiting. 'cause
Yeah,
they've gotta-
but as long as you guys are happy with what's offered.
Going
you
back
know.
to the lunch line, Ms. DeBoer, if you remember how we had the lunch lines before, where it was in between the two single doors is where you would go in, and then out the double doors.
So you went in the singles and out the double?
Yeah,
Well,
I
how's
think
it now?
that would
In the
make it a
double,
little,
they go in the double out the
Oh,
single.
yeah.
Why did that change, do you know?
I'm not sure.
don't know, but I feel like that would make it a little better.
What do you think about
I was gonna
that?
say, do you have any input on that?
We've talked about that. I don't like the setup at the high school.
Mm.
Quite frankly, that kitchen's very small,
Yeah.
especially being a new building. It's very small
It
for the size of the group that it is. However, we've also been talking about if we leave it single door going out the double doors, hiring one more person there and having a third register on the a la carte side, that would help alleviate some of that congestion and getting
Crossing
the
back
kids
and forth.
back out the door again. If you leave it coming in the two wings going through the middle, you're kind of limited to the two registers, because you can set up a third register, but then you have to backtrack through the line that's trying to come in the outside door. Believe me, there's been a lot of thoughts going on about that.
Do you have the similar issues at this school? I know the Coombs school's pretty, I mean, they're little enough that you can
Yeah,
get
no,
them
we don't
through.
have- This kitchen's way bigger.
So it's
We
easier to
don't
get
have
them.
that problem.
Okay.
Yeah.
I guess the other question, I believe in prior years, there was 4 lunch periods, right? And now it's 3 lunch periods, so you have more people, less time to get through. Do you think that going to 4 lunch periods again would help, or would it make a difference?
Just before they answer that, I
Yeah.
can tell you that we would not have enough time on learning, so it's not actually a feasible option for our school
The way our,
Yeah.
currently in
The
terms of
way our
time on learning
structure-
and what we
way-
have to.
They'd have to
provide.
lose
So
homework.
I'm so sorry, friends, but it doesn't matter if
Because
you want it.
if I remember correctly, it was homeroom versus.
Yes, we added to homeroom, which I
Yeah.
don't think anyone is remotely interested in pulling back to a 12-minute homeroom. I think 20 minutes you could actually get something done, but maybe I'm wrong.
There's a lot of meetings and like I use it for tutoring and like,
I talked to a lot of teachers during homeroom,
yeah. There's a lot of different, Andrew does crossword during homeroom,
sometimes.
sometimes.
Crossword?
Daily Times crossword.
Oh.
My
Do you
record.
have
He hides in
No.
Mr. T's room.
Nice.
Why did I picture you with a newspaper just?
Him and Mr. Brockman. Anyway, I'm sorry, I wanted to clarify that there are limitations based on time on learning that we are in. Separate from that.
separate from that, though, would smaller groups make a difference?
I
mean-
mean, sorry,
Go ahead.
No, you can go.
go ahead. Because I'm going to talk longer than you are.
I mean, with the size of the younger grades, even if we did split it into 4 lunches, I feel like it's still going to be about the same.
You're staring at each other.
I was expecting Dawn to say something.
No, I was waiting. I was
I'm
like,
just listening.
is he done? Is he done? No, I feel like already from what I've seen with lunches, our second lunch is actually pretty small. And I think that's just kind of what the classes that they put in the second lunch. But if we were to, I mean, obviously it's not gonna happen, but even if we were to put in 4 lunches, it's just creating smaller environments, and there's less people maybe that you know there. And I know from someone who has social anxiety, it's not really fun to not have anyone to sit with at lunch. And then you kind of create social stuff. Yeah.
Good point. That is a good point.
Excellent.
I want to backtrack. The food service, I'm sorry. Ms.
Kathy
King-
and Kristen.
No, I wrote that down. It's just, Kathy, you're the director and you're
Yes.
the nutritionist, Kristen. Okay. That I didn't write down, so let's make sure I
The
have it right.
assistant food service.
Assistant, okay. So you had mentioned, if they went back to that other setup, the hiring of additional positions, are all of the current positions in food services filled? Are you, like what you're budgeted for, have you filled all your positions that you're budgeted for?
It's definitely a moving
Okay.
process. It's a fluid process right now. We walked in, there was no budget set up for us, so to speak. So we're learning as we go.
Okay.
And where I see see the need, and I think that is a need that needs to be filled. That flow in that high school cafeteria, I'm very well aware of. We did try and change some things, the way the line was served, even as far as salads and sandwiches, and constantly in my mind, I'm thinking and tinkering how to change the flow of that, because it's just so cramped in there. But that's a need, so I am not to say whether my budget supports it or not, because that's not how you should speak, but that's something that's important, because I know that flow is important, because I was a kid, I work with kids, they don't want to stand in line. And that means some kids aren't going to get lunch because they have to wait in that line. And I know that, and you don't want anyone to go hungry. That's my job.
No, I appreciate,
That's my job. Yeah.
I appreciate the feedback. No, it's, all right.
So no, because I want another cash register until something, I want another cashier until something changes. Yeah.
All right. Any other comments, questions, Andrew?
I do have one more thing that I'd like to bring up. So a couple of our Muslim students have come up to me, and like I know last year there was this project to get halal meats in the cafeteria. I'm not entirely sure where that project left off, but I was wondering more of a question for you guys, if there was still anything going on with the halal meats, or
We can absolutely look into it.
okay,
Yep.
thank
Yep.
you.
That was, because that was the civics project.
Yes, but
And that was
I don't know
in
where it left
fact,
off.
that
I
would
know
be a
Ms.
question.
Lopes was here, I know she was involved with that last
Yeah.
year, so she would be able to answer.
And I remember
Coming
hearing,
up.
yeah,
Yeah.
we did discuss it at
We
one
did.
point, but thank you for circling back on that one. I kind of assumed it was done, but that would be nice to find out, because I'm sure you're handling kosher meats and products. Halal, I know from what I know is not too far of a difference between kosher and halal, but I know there are still some differences, so. Any other questions, comments? No? All right. Thank you for being here. Nice to meet you and have faces with names now, and thank you for all you're doing.
And
And
if you see either one of us and you have something that you want to suggest, just say, I don't know, let us know. Tell us.
we love the feedback, so
Yep.
definitely.
Positive or negative.
Yeah.
Yep.
all right.
Awesome.
Thank
Thank
you.
you.
Thank you.
Have a good night.
Yes.
Drive safely out there.
It's not slippery, but it's not clear.
At least they're not wearing Uggs though,
Yeah.
right?
The mist and fog. Yeah.
Okay, so moving on to our next item. It's that time of year where we look at the MPS Student Opinion Survey. We have given you guys all a copy of the draft, and hopefully you had a chance to look at it. The outreach working group, which is Matt and Brian, sat with Superintendent DeBoer and kind of went through, looked at these questions. Andrew, you've heard this kind of already, but feel free to chime in. And basically, we've taken some questions off, added some questions on. Legacy prompts are the questions that are in blue when you look at the numbers. If it's a blue, that's a question that's been on pretty much from the start. And then new ones are green. So,
And if you look, the specific questions that you, as 7th through 12th graders, you're in that next to the last column. And so if it's white, that is a question that you will see on your survey, worded in a way that's geared towards you as a student. So you want to focus on those questions that are under your column and that are the white, to see if there's anything that you'd like worded differently, or you think should be worded differently, or if you'd like any questions added, that's an opportunity to talk about that. The last group that will look at these will be a focus group with some parents, probably as a Zoom, just to get their input on it as well.
and as Superintendent DeBoer said too, if there's like a word that, kind of makes you guys go, I would maybe say that differently, like.
Or that you don't know.
Or that you don't know, because chances are, if you don't know it, there's fellow classmates or students in the school who don't know it either. So we wanted to bring this to this group because we have your voices now, so we'd love to hear what you think about this survey. The questions first, and then we'll talk about the administration of it after. So,
Just as being like one of the members on that committee that was looking at it, if you look at number 26 for an example, it's on the back. we were looking at, in the past, that question was just, my child feels safe at his, her, their school. And we had some conflicting responses that we were getting on that. And we didn't know if maybe people weren't taking it as feeling safe as in physical safety, like being bullied or, anything like that, or if we're coming post-COVID, where they taking it as like feel safe as far as like not getting sick, or so it could be conflicting with. So that's why we're kind of looking at a change on something like that, like safety versus emotional and physical.
And that also was one last year that every school, or the two school groups scored very low.
Yeah.
Your fellow classmates, you yourselves even maybe answered that you did not necessarily feel safe, even though we didn't necessarily define what safety was. That number was one that stood out to us at our school committee retreat when we were making our goals. So that's another reason we wanted to delineate the two. No, that's okay.
I think that's definitely a good idea, especially where we scored like people weren't feeling safe.
Yeah.
I think it's very important to find out why. So maybe getting that, even just emotional and physical, that tells a lot. Even if we don't have like, I can't really think of any more like categories that we could choose, but I feel like those two are a very good place to start.
Yeah, or maybe like adding a box where if they say they don't feel safe, they can write why.
Because I feel like a lot of times, seeing what I see on a daily basis is when someone is struggling socially, the people that they normally are having a struggle with, it is not seen by the teachers. Because it is a show put on for the teachers. I've seen that. I hate when it happens. And then I've said something to the teachers about it, and they're like, what are you talking about? That kid's an angel. And it's hard because how are you expected to feel safe when your teachers or your administration don't know what's happening, but there's no way to communicate it?
And that's a hard thing, because like when they're not seeing it, like it's not validated because they're not seeing it. Yeah.
Yeah.
Like they want to believe you too, and like, but they need to, if it's not something they see, then you can't really.
And
yeah.
unfortunately, with the bullying policy,
Yeah.
you do need the proof.
Yeah.
So it's,
And there's no proof
Yeah.
when it's verbal.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah.
I mean, we do have at the very bottom, the space to share your thoughts, but maybe to your point, Paige, it should be something in that question so that they can answer it while it's fresh in their mind. I mean, I don't know if that's something we can modify in that.
I'll have to look when we construct that question. Otherwise, we could add more on that last one, like if there's any questions specifically that you'd like to add.
Or
to
could
it.
you insert not another question, but like another
A
number
writing
with
space.
a writing
Yeah,
space
We can
under,
do-
you know what I
I was
mean?
going to say, sometimes with surveys like of this size, putting boxes in, the data analysis gets a little bit tricky because it becomes qualitative.
It's a
It's a
spreadsheet.
mixed methods. But one of the things I wondered is could we have, just add a question to say, I feel physically safe at school. I feel emotionally safe or psychologically safe at school. And then they can still add their comments at the bottom where it goes, but we would be teasing out which of those things they're referencing. I'm not trying to add questions.
No, but the other thing to note too is that, you guys put your email addresses and your name, you do identify yourselves, and nobody sees that except Superintendent DeVore. I mean, we just see the answers. So if a student scores a 1, which is the lowest, that they don't feel safe, or however the scoring is, like if they say no, is that a yes or a no
That's
question?
a yes or no,
Okay, so if they say no, follow-up could happen,
yeah. It does,
and
actually.
it does happen, so.
So when I read, if any students put thoughts in this section, I do read them, and last year I go and meet specifically with students that wrote something so that we can figure things out for them. That's why I like to have the names. The principals never see the names, they only see the aggregate data.
I don't even see it.
No,
Yeah.
she doesn't even see them, but it allows me to really problem solve for that student, and that's what I like to be able to do. So that's why I like students to have names. We also ask for parents to provide the names, because then when they generically share something in this narrative part, I can't fix it if I don't know who it is really. And it's more efficient for making change when you actually know who it is. And I am the only one who
In a
sees the
small
names.
environment like
Yeah.
this. So is there, I'm trying to remember, because we've met on this quite a few times.
Yeah.
why we didn't want the two different questions?
I don't know if it was the number of
The
questions.
number of
It
questions.
might have been, because I think we weren't trying to add more because there were already so many.
Right.
But we were trying to crack that nut of like, how do you drill down to like which thing it is that's bothering, I mean, like.
I feel like it needs to be its own thing.
Yeah.
Well, because then when, in Google, they creates the charts and all
Yeah.
that. I don't know how the chart would look when it's I suppose it would become like a bar graph of emotional, physical.
I'll be honest, just one more question. What do you guys think? Do you think it'll be clear enough if it's like the same question but two pieces? Or do you think it would be better?
Like we could put all, like, I feel emotionally safe at school, that would be all like all caps, and the next question would be, I feel physically safe at school. Yes or no, or,
The other thing you could do to make it one question is say, I feel, emotionally safe at school with a Likert scale.
That's why I was
physically
saying,
safe at school with a Likert scale, in one question.
and that's kind of what I was saying, was
Yeah.
that they score a
A
1.
Likert scale is 1 to 5.
Yeah.
Or 1 to 4, or whatever it is you choose to do. Maybe that doesn't add a question, but still digs, sorry, I'm so sorry, still digs into the content. What do you guys think?
What were you going to say?
I think it might be smart to kind of put some like examples.
Yes, e.g.
Just because it can get very, very confusing between physically and emotionally, because some kid might think, oh, physically because I feel like I'm going to get beat up, but technically that's emotionally, and it's very confusing.
Whereas physically might be around school safety with like
The doors are locked.
doors and, you know,
Yeah.
that kind of stuff, and we want that information.
yeah,
Yeah, we could put examples.
Just to kind of clarify.
I think it's huge.
yeah.
I guess one question comes to mind as Eve is talking here, and I appreciate her feedback. Is social media an important criteria? I'm just putting it out there.
And would you put that under physical or emotional?
We have a question on that.
We have about
Yeah.
online, we have a thing about,
Question 32 about cyberbullying.
Wow, look at you knowing the numbers.
Well, I just happened to look down and it was like, boom,
You
here we
like banged
go.
that out very fast.
31, 32.
Right, but that's kind of the not the individual. It's asking, am I aware of where students in my school have been bullied? So
No, there's
31 is my child has been bullied online during the current school year.
Or I have.
Or I have been.
the student version is I have been bullied online.
on 32?
On 31.
31.
Social
After
media
reading
is
the
a-
definition shared below, where's the definition?
Well,
Oh,
it's on
it's
the
in the
survey,
actual
it's not on
survey.
the chart, it's in the survey.
You can't keep the chart on 2 pages.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Please respond. My child has been bullied, so,
In the student
Their
version
version
will be-
says I,
okay, I have been bullied.
yes.
Does that, in your opinion,
Social media is a tricky thing. I mean, I think I can relate to any other teen when I say, is it great for your mental health? No, it is not. Because it's a show. And it's always been a show. And it always will be a show of, I'm better than this person, I'm better than that person. As for cyberbullying, I specifically don't know much about it. I have never been cyberbullied, and I don't know people who have. But, I mean, it's definitely something, not that the school, I mean, social media is kind of a personal thing, so the school doesn't really know much about it. Like,
And it's still a tricky thing to
Yeah.
prove, having knowledge of that process.
Yeah.
It's not in what can transpire in a cyberbullying event or incident.
but do you interpret that as being part of feeling safe?
I wouldn't so much call it as feeling safe. It's more self-critical. Because I mean, everyone experiences this. You see the things on social media and you say, why don't I have, especially teenage girls, why don't I have that body? Why don't I have that look? Why can't I look like that? And it's not necessarily feeling safe, but it's more feeling, it's not feeling safe like, how do I word this?
No, I know what you're saying.
It's mentally.
Yeah,
It's a mental battle.
it's a mental wellness issue more than a safety issue, but I guess those students who have experienced cyberbullying, to Dawn's question, I would argue it is a safety issue, whether it's physical or mental. I do think students who have experienced cyberbullying, it does tie into it. I think that those questions just drill it down a little bit more, and kind of specify like the experience, I guess. I'm trying to think of how to
Well,
word that.
I feel like, John, you're looking to make sure we don't miss anything, right, with this survey and making
Yeah,
sure we capture it?
Yes.
That's what it sounds like to me.
Yeah,
One of the
I'm not
things I
trying
wanna
to pick
make-
it apart. I'm
No,
just
no,
trying
no,
to
but
make
one of the things I
sure
want to make
that
sure
we're
you
capturing
know
everything.
is that I would not use this device to find out if a kid is upset about cyberbullying. This is going to give us aggregate data, and that's all you're really going to get. We do the DESA, which is that social emotional screening tool, 3 times a year. That is student-specific, and we use that, the counselors, the teachers use that data to follow up specifically with kids. This tool is not designed or really ever was meant for drilling that far into specific kids' responses. So I guess I would just maybe hope you feel a little better knowing that we are drilling into that with the DESA.
Well, I guess that brings up a point then, are we asking a redundant question?
See, the way I look at this question, and I was just thinking the same thing, is this would almost more identify if there's a systemic sense in a building, whether it's here in Quashnet or at the middle high school, that might need some type of PD or might need some student engagement and, I don't know the effectiveness of assemblies, but, or some kind of educational piece that gets introduced, like that's how I take those questions.
Yes, exactly,
Yes.
like
Yeah.
the ADL peer leaders. And again, it goes back to the locus of your control, school committee, which is around policy, budget, and the evaluation of the superintendent. So if, you see aggregate-wise, like 40% of the kids at, National High School don't feel safe emotionally, you're gonna then ask, okay, what is in our, like, what are we doing from a financial perspective to address that? And that's what you ask of the superintendent and us.
One for peer leaders, I'm trying to rack my brain for our lessons right now. But we mostly focus, from what I remember, on verbal, and like in person, kind of. I mean, we obviously touch on like, just in the whole world and like microaggressions, all that fun stuff, that we should never have to touch on, but unfortunately we do have to. But we never really, from what I remember, go into the online portion of it. We
Not
touch
through peer
on it.
leaders.
Not.
No, but through your wellness classes.
Through wellness we
Through
did,
wellness? Yeah. I
And
believe
digital
it.
citizenship.
yeah.
Do we even have digital?
Yes.
Yeah, we did.
Middle
Do?
school.
We still do? Okay.
That was COVID.
No, we did take it, but everything changes.
Well, you may not have been in band, so.
No, I did, but I just can't remember
That's a valid point though
anything.
too, not everyone is taking
I
digital
took it.
citizenship.
But they all do take
But I
wellness, you can't
took it
graduate
during
without
COVID.
it, and there's a
Yeah.
really
And I remember
robust,
taking it, but I didn't remember if we still had it.
unit.
And that's great, but I do also wonder, is it something that needs to be, and that's where we come in as school committee, do we expand on that through some type of curriculum or program that,
So the survey should be able to tell you that.
at least that's how I take those questions. It's more to see a systemic problem and then figure out ways we as a school committee can work.
Well, for something for you guys to bring back to your peers is like, all this data, when we ask people to take surveys and all that stuff, it means something, because like the whole goal behind it is to make sure that you guys are getting everything you need, and that if there is something lacking or a gap of, some type of a resource that we then make a change, so that, taking a survey isn't just like, oh crap, here's a survey. It's like, it's actually like, no, like we want to make your lives better, so, yeah.
I think that's something that a lot of our peers need to realize and fill out the surveys. I know whenever we get a survey, I always yell at my friends, yell at everyone in my class, do the survey, do the survey.
Is there like another one?
Yeah, I
So
know.
the group of students that we meet with once a month as well, we talked about not administering it, at the same time like last year where there was some crash and burn, but we also talked about a little bit of ways to incentivize for the middle high school. Down here, it's easier, you can say, and you still want everyone to sort of put their best effort into the survey, not just to complete, but down here you can be, the class with 100% participation gets the pizza party. That's not as easy up there, but we do have, we wrote down notes, and I forget how we landed on Friday, but there is going to be, is it an
Yeah, we talked about
Amazon
two
card or
$50
something?
Amazon cards donated by the boosters.
Yeah.
Nice.
Unless a pizza party would work.
The problem with the pizza party is
That's a lot of pizza.
there's not glasses,
No, I
you
know.
know? And really, it's extra
Because we do
recess
it
is
great.
what because the wellness,
I would
the
love extra
wellness
recess.
department would
Maybe
say.
we give them recess.
I
No,
can,
maybe.
I can say where I was in a class the other day, I was in Mrs. Reynolds' AP Human class, and she's trying to get us to do Teen Maptivist, which is open street mapping.
Yeah.
And she goes, it'll be an after-school club, and the government gave me money to get pizza, and all of the teenage boys in the back of the class are like, pizza? I want pizza. They're very
Okay, well, maybe that might work well.
Yeah.
Nothing's definite yet, but there will be a way to sort of incentivize.
Maybe it's breakfast buffet at homeroom. No.
But we will ask that you are sort of pushing your peers
Yes.
to, and just really like Matt's
Yeah.
point, is this actually makes a difference. Like it literally does.
It's like voting, like before you're, able to.
Oh, I'm sorry. I
That's
didn't-
okay.
Yeah.
So, Eve, I'm going to pick on you because you've been really good on answering some of these
Can't
tough
get away from
questions.
it.
She's local.
How do you differentiate based on question 26 and 28? Especially when we've talked about possibly expanding 26
didn't see
to
28.
separate.
And if anybody else has thoughts on it too,
Yeah,
it doesn't just have to be Eve, but if somebody else looks at 26 and 28 and has thoughts.
Well, I think that 26 relates more to in school and at school, but comfortable around my peers in all school settings. That could be field trips, sporting events, different activities that we do through the school that might be a little more, not unsupervised, but less structured. Yes, less structured, where students may feel like they can get away with more, and there might be more instances of bullying.
Yeah.
Well, so then is 26 worded appropriately when we say at their school? Should it be in all school settings? So if I expanded it to all school settings, do I feel safe socially or emotionally and physically?
Yeah, I understand, because safe is a very different, it's similar but different than comfortable. Because safe is like, are you genuinely scared of this? Where comfortable is maybe you get pushed outside of your comfort zone a little bit and you have to try new things. So I feel like, in all school settings would be good, just because it kind of broadens that horizon. Because there's a lot of field trips and a lot of different stuff that goes on. Different kids have different activities they have to do throughout the day, or they have clubs or sports, or,
So expanding that. So you feel that there is a difference in how it would be interpreted as far as feeling safe and feeling comfortable?
Yeah.
Does anybody else have anything? Because I have a thought on this.
I have a thought, if
Go
you
ahead.
don't mind. I feel like it's important to have both of those questions to have a metric of at school, in school, compared to after school, at school sanctioning activities and stuff like that. So I feel like it's important to have both. And I personally feel like the way they are worded makes sense to me and feel the same to me. Well, not this exact same, but they feel similar enough to me.
Does everybody else feel that way too?
I'll be honest, I think we're focusing on the wrong word. Comfortable and safe, yes, they're similar, but I think the real difference between those two is around my peers, whereas in the school could be faculty and staff, could be the physical setting, could be the school buses, could be, your fields, wherever you are, whereas your peers,
That's just
do you feel comfortable with
Yeah.
the people who are around you, or do you not feel I guess to me, that's the differential between the two. They are very similar, but I think
I didn't notice that. I completely agree with you.
that's, to me, that's the difference.
Thinking back to when we developed these questions, I kind of feel this one had its infancy in the student council in 5th and 6th grade, and it had to do with sometimes there can be a child who, through their interactions with a teacher, or make you feel uncomfortable, and you're guarded in your learning environment. Not that you feel personally threatened or unsafe, but they just can put you a little bit out of your comfort zone, a little bit on edge. And I think that particular question came from a conversation with.
Number 26?
Uh-huh.
Yes.
And I think
No,
that's-
number 28.
Number 28,
Yeah.
oh, okay.
That's definitely like what you were saying, that's really important, especially with, I mean, down here, you're basically stuck with the same people all day. But in high school, you're not stuck with the same people all day, and you're constantly moving classes. And also, like, a lot of times, I mean, as you get older in through the middle high school, you start seeing kids you're in classes with different kids from different grade levels. But also, I think the biggest diversity from what I've seen from grade levels is the clubs. Because I don't spend time with really for band, but like in chorus. But for like my
7th and 8th graders.
academic classes, I'm not with the younger kids. I'm with them after school. And so I feel like in all school settings is really important, and also just like, yeah, in general. If that makes sense.
Anyone else want to add to that? Dawn?
I'm just wondering from an organizational standpoint of 24, which is related to a go-to adult or safe space that I can access when needed, that should be put with 26 and 28, because you're talking kind of safety and a safe place to go. So I'm just...
I see that, honestly, I see that as kind of like, I know that some students, like, if you're having like a really rough day, or I think that this is more so like capturing that, like, I have a person, like, you know, like in the military, we call it like our wingman, like the person that you can go to and you feel like, hey, I can tell you anything. And I think that's what this one's kind of identifying is like, do they have that like person that in the building?
They have the person or place that they can go to. And we actually, I don't know which group now, but we're going to move that towards after 17, because there seems to be a series of questions that are geared towards adults in the building, so that we were going to move that question. But the word safe there is not meant to be tied to feeling safe. It's a space to go to when, you want to have someone to talk to.
I'd agree. I feel like it fits better around the form of teachers and staff that you feel comfortable reaching out to. Because I definitely have some days where like it'll be a really long day and I need to go see that one teacher that like can like help me. That is not necessarily that I don't feel safe, that I just feel like either frustrated or tired, or I just need like someone to talk to, like an adult. And I feel like it's not necessarily that they don't feel safe, it's that they just, yeah.
And I think, because especially, like, I really relate to this question, because a lot of kids, they see me as an older sister, so they come to me and they ask me these really hard questions, because they don't have a person, they don't have an adult they can go to.
You are that person.
I am that person, and I love them all dearly.
You're that person for me.
But they come to me and I have to be like, okay, like, it's a very, like, and my mother's been teaching me psychology since I could think, so I'm very good at reading things and reading people, but they say, I normally tell them, I'm like, okay, you need to go to, like, who's a teacher you feel comfortable with? You go to them and you talk to them. And I was talking actually to Mr. T, the band teacher today, about how sometimes, especially, he's like my father, my school father. Like, he knows, and I was telling him today, when I'm having a rough day, he lets me sit there, and he lets me reflect on myself, and if I'm being annoying, he tells me, stop doing that. He told me the other day, I was in band and I was complaining, and he goes, stop complaining. And everyone should have that teacher.
Or person.
Or anyone who, when they go to that person can either tell them what they think they should do, advice, or just sit there with them. Because sometimes, and especially I know this, sometimes I just need that person to just sit there in silence with me until I can get myself back together. And I think it's just a lot of kids don't feel that way because they don't have that person, and that can get very, very overwhelming very fast.
But I think that is what that question's trying to get. Like, I had one in high school too. I didn't have a good home life for a period of time there, and I had a French teacher, Mr. Daly, that was like my go-to. Whether it was during school or it was after school or something like that, could hear me out, and yeah. Good stuff.
Mr. Rosa was mine.
Yeah.
Yep. My English teacher. All right. Any other questions, comments, concerns about the survey, suggestions? Andrew?
I have a question, not about any of the content. I think this is more for Ms. DeBoer. I don't want, I was going to put out a survey based on stuff that we talked about last time in school committee. I don't want to crowd this survey, because I feel like this would be more helpful than the survey.
Survey fatigue. Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
So, do you want me to just wait till after this?
If you want to do, if you have yours figured out and you want to do it before February vacation.
Do you guys have your survey figured out?
Otherwise, yes.
Then otherwise, I would suggest yes. Which would,
Okay.
yes, so it would
Get us
be
into-
a target of a mid-March.
I think
for
we'll
yours.
just wait then.
Okay.
Yeah.
That would involve Andrew actually doing what I tell him to do.
I feel like maybe we should split this group up. This feels.
That's fine.
Well, thank you for your input on that, and like Superintendent DeBoer said, if you guys could definitely help promote this with your classmates and peers, these really come in critical for when we make our school committee goals. We use this information to set our goals, and Andrew witnessed that this past August. We sat with all those answers, and that's how we determine some of our goals.
I will be telling everyone to fill out this survey now that I know. And I can say from experience, they read this. This is how they set their goals. Fill it out so you have a good year.
We are
So-
We
listening
want
to you.
accurate data.
So leading somewhat maybe that Friday after vacation or the Friday, anyway, on the Mashpee Minute, we
Yes.
need a conversation from you five about the survey is coming, how important it is for students to complete it. We'll have a little more information for you if there is an incentive, so just to get the 7 through 12 ready to go. And we'll also, I think we talked about this before, be messaging with the staff of sort of the script and the message we want them to use, so there is consistency across the...
Yeah, I'll talk to Ms. Fraser. The rehearsal has been put on hold right now, so I'm actually able to be at Match per Minute.
Okay.
And do you think QR codes around the building would help people to scan and have the,
We don't have time always.
well, fair point, fair
I'm
point.
also not using my phone during school.
That's
days.
right, then there's that, sorry,
Good.
yep, breaking my own policy there, sorry. Okay,
That's awesome.
student communication, that is our next agenda item, and this is on the agenda kind of to discuss and get your feedback on communication and how we, whether it's the faculty and staff, whether it's Superintendent DeBoer, the school committee, how communication flows to you as students. Andrew, you kind of brought this one up too, so if you want to
I did?
elaborate on that.
No, sorry, that was a statement. I did.
What's the statement?
That was coming from a lot of my peers, so if you don't mind me pulling up
No,
my
please do.
phone.
Do what you need to do.
I personally check my
We're not in school yet.
email a lot. I feel like a lot of it was people not checking their email.
I believe that was
Students not
part of it,
taking
yes,
email?
that email was not checked right.
People would prefer if there was an announcement or something like that, but this is a tough question. They want me to put it on, so I put it on.
Yeah.
But
If anybody else wants to help chime in with Andrew, if you've heard.
Hard thing about announcements right now is you can't hear them.
yeah,
They
That's
keep
coming.
breaking. They keep breaking.
And I believe
Just
we-
like,
The
you
new
just
system is in.
spent
Oh,
how
it is?
much money on this system and we can't hear it?
Well, it's a process.
So
What is the process
I
and
don't know,
why
I
is
just
it?
made that up. But it
Okay.
just went in like last week.
But you still can't hear it?
You still can't. I mean, you
Maybe
can
it
hear
needs
the
to be turned
bell.
up.
Everyone,
Well,
It
yeah.
cuts
you can hear
out.
the bell very
It
much.
cuts
It's like a little
It
crunchy
cuts out.
sounding.
What was that?
It's a little crunchy.
Crunchy
Yeah,
sounding?
I'm gonna.
It's,
We're going to follow up on
Mr.
that.
Maroney right
it'll
now.
go quiet and then it'll go loud. Like I was in the studio after school today, and it was, even they were just trying to listen, like we were just talking, and you could like, it would cut out. And it's still, like, you can barely hear the pledge in the morning.
So announcements might not be the best way to go if people are not
Where's the
hearing.
system?
I feel like an email and an announcement, so like students, if they don't check their email, they know to check their
I
email.
was gonna say, should the announcement be, read your email?
Yeah.
But so
Yes.
how about the daily, the Builders Club that does the daily
I love that.
slides?
Yes.
I love
I
that.
love
on
that,
slide.
I
Put one
love
on
that
the
too.
slides,
So
yes.
should there be a reminder slide, you should be checking your email every day, because, I mean, they put things on, but I think it's mostly Ms.
But also,
Pincinel.
couldn't we put, hey, finish your survey on the
Yeah, no, we can,
builders
she
club?
will put it on there, because she had the schedule of the 2 principal visits,
Yeah.
like up there, and I just like sent it out that morning, it was already on her slide, and I'm like, whoa, that's pretty good. So I think that is a new, and I think there's coming very soon, this new weekly communication from the high school to families and students, but that's shown every day during homeroom, right? Is that what it's shown?
Yes.
I love those.
And it's very informative, and it's also was running like in the library the day we were up there,
Yeah.
it's running
It's always running in the library.
places. So we could actually add another clear touch in the
Can
hallway where it runs.
Can we, where the wall of TVs used to be, can we
Right.
put another, like one TV back in the wall of TVs at the entrance when people are walking to the cafeteria or whatever?
Yeah.
I'll ask about the wall of
A
TV.
few
And we do
clear
have
touches.
TVs in the cafeteria.
Yeah.
It could run there too,
Yeah.
yeah.
They used to run there.
Yeah.
Like, we used to
They,
have
they
them.
sometimes are on.
Yeah, that's
But that would be an ideal time,
That's
a
though, like,
resource.
you're all in there
Yeah.
for lunch at some point in the day,
I'll
right?
add that to the Mr. Maroney email that I am trying
Yeah,
to
that
figure
is
out.
Mr. Maroney.
Yes.
Yeah, they have,
What time are the announcements done? First thing in the morning?
so we get into school. Announcements were kind of weird this year, I don't really know what's going on.
I think it's pledge. and then during-
It's, yeah, they have pledge in the morning, and then they have announcements during homeroom.
Which is at like 10:15.
But the announcements, it's making me cringe as someone who used to do the announcements, because they're not organizing it. And so they'll do it, and then they forget to do an announcement, and then it's another announcement.
Yeah.
Off. Another announcement. And from someone who did that last year, I'm just like, there's a binder. Use the binder. So it's kind of a mess right now, and I don't really know. There was a whole thing at the start of the year with the announcements, and I just ended up never
So
following
are the
up.
announcements done by students?
They used to be.
They used to be, I'm not sure who's doing them now. They are done in that homeroom block, not first thing in the morning, except for the pledge, because you're in a class. We're not going to take class time for that.
I don't know why we're doing the pledge in the class. I feel like why do we have to do the pledge first thing when the announcements aren't till, can't we do the pledge at 10:15? Are we less American if we do the pledge at 10:15? I don't know.
Because we're doing it at 5:30.
I'm gonna say no, but.
I guess my
Yeah.
point is, like, I loved when the kids did it.
Yeah.
Loved it. Though what we heard from my buddy Mackay was that you don't want to miss homeroom time to do the announcements, which we
Yeah.
totally get. But if we
Yeah.
had a rotating schedule, I feel like it would be less maybe kids would do it. if
I
they
wonder,
missed
like,
one.
wouldn't it be kind of interesting if you had like sponsored by the Key Club or sponsored by the theater club, and like they
Like
do
the
it for that
elementaries
week,
do.
and they do it for that
The
week.
elementaries have, like, it's Miss Cohane's class's week to do the announcements at Coombs. And they go down, the little
Oh, that's
first graders.
awesome.
And they're like, we're from Miss Cohane's class. And so they do it all week. So it could be, whatever it is, I think there's a better system than what we're doing. But I gotta go back to like the pledge first thing. If you're gonna do the pledge and interrupt a class, then do all the announcements then. But homeroom seems just as appropriate to do the pledge.
Well, that's what, I went down like one of the first weeks, and I had told Mackay, you go down first, because he's senior privilege. And he had kind of said, oh, like, they didn't want me doing the lunch. And he was kind of like, I don't know what's going on, and I was like, okay. So I went to go down, and I got told, well, we're gonna do it until we figure this all out. And, so I was just like,
I feel like using the slides that Ms. Pincinel does every day would be a great guide for announcements, because they have the lunch on a slide. They have today's clubs are this, here's a reminder, these are the clubs this afternoon. Like, there's a lot in there.
And if it's playing on a loop,
It does.
like, I mean, you could loop it somewhere, right? And just have
Yeah.
it like
Yeah.
looping so you could always access it. I mean,
Yeah, that's what it does in the library, it's on a loop.
Yeah.
Yeah, or so if you got those other locations like the cafeteria, the wall of TVs, if we could reinstate one, I don't know. But do you find, so I guess back to the emails though, so what I'm hearing is those are not necessarily as effective in terms of communicating important information, or are they?
Not to the student body as a whole, though. Personally, I check my email, but.
Well, I think that's also a culture shift that we need to make starting in 7th grade because, you know, later in life, you're going to need to check your college email. You're going to need to check your work emails. So there should be that expectation, and whether it's a training or, okay, here's the first 3 minutes of my class, open up your Chromebooks, check your emails. Like, get that habit in place somehow early on so that they then know it's
I
important.
know that we do that. We have I want to call it a whole unit. Yeah, a whole unit kind of on professional emails, checking your email, and like all the different parts of an email in school of career. And
In senior sem also.
in senior sem,
You
yeah.
have it both.
I only take school of career, so. But I'm sorry, I cannot remember. It's pre-COVID, but I believe we have something about emails and digital citizenship. Yes.
I feel like it was a habit in 7th grade that they mentioned, like, check your emails.
Yeah.
I vaguely remember it.
I think we also had a unit in civics in 8th grade too.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes, you did.
There was just like a couple days where she just like taught us like how to write an email.
I mean, that could tie into civics, ELA, I mean,
Yes.
there's so many, there's, email's just life.
I think during COVID too, you were checking emails when you were home,
Yes.
because that was how you got your work and so forth. So it's really a matter of, it was going okay, and then we sort of all fell backwards into.
So to rebuild
So,
habits.
in addition to emails though, isn't Twitter or X also used primarily by the athletic department?
I'm
I'm
sorry,
gonna
I
say
don't
no,
have.
because.
I don't know. I don't know Twitter.
Because I used to
I think you're
see-
dating yourself by using Twitter.
I know.
No.
That's like, I think old people use Twitter.
But also X.
Yeah.
So when you guys got on MySpace,
Hey, y'all friends with Tom? No, I'm kidding.
No, I recall seeing
Yeah.
communication
I know athletics does
from
on
the
Twitter.
Yeah.
athletic
I saw my
director in
mom.
regard to, you know,
I think it's more the
Game
parents'
time?
platform than the student platform,
Yeah,
is
yeah.
what I'm
so
trying
is
to
I
that
know-
not?
I know
So
teachers.
it's only done it, because I would see
Yeah.
stuff that
Oh, no,
would look
I
like we
still see
reference
it.
to students.
I know teachers, like my mom uses Twitter just for the fact of school.
Small notices.
And yes, different, like, I don't really know. I don't really know. Her thing. But yeah, some teachers will use it. I know we use it for the music program
We have a band
a
teacher.
lot. I know Mr. T uses Twitter a lot.
Because for a while there was a push, was there not, Superintendent DeBoer, for everybody to try and
Yeah.
use Twitter? Yeah.
And I know the robotics program uses Twitter.
I think some teachers might have taken to it a little bit
Yeah.
more, and some departments. maybe
It's more like, I think the departments, because the music department uses it, the robotics, the
But-
robotics kids use it, and then the guidance counselors use it for like college stuff.
But to Dawn's point, you know, is an Instagram account, is a TikTok account something?
Instagram is used, I know mostly for sports, but
I can say through helping start a town natural resources Instagram, the comments will not be pretty. I
No.
don't
No, you
Fair
can
point.
make it so there's no comment.
You
Okay,
can.
but
You
yeah.
can. And
The-
I might
I'm
actually
just-
follow that Instagram account because I probably saw it and went, ooh, that's a town thing.
Another thing I'm thinking of is like, does everyone have the same access? Like, can you access
Then
that on
there's that,
Chromebook or?
No, we
Well,
don't.
no.
Right, we
Yeah,
don't.
so like.
Well,
if someone
Instagram you
doesn't have-
can.
Yeah.
On a Chromebook?
You can,
Probably
well,
not.
I don't know about that. I know that you can get to it through a
social
website.
media.
No, we're saying like we have to.
Oh,
Yeah.
never mind.
Yeah,
Okay.
Yeah.
so that's my concern, is like if we create something that we really put all of our energy into,
Right.
not everyone
Fair enough.
yeah.
I will say Class Tag is our new communication tool that we're rolling out this year. It hasn't gotten to you
Oh,
guys
okay.
yet. It's coming.
Yeah, for the last 3 years, no, what?
No. But this platform allows for two-way communication. It allows for communication to be translated immediately so that, like, let's say Andrew speaks Portuguese and reads Portuguege. It's going to
that's
come,
really
whatever
cool.
I write it to Andrew is going to go in Portuguese because he's clicked that. I know, I'm so excited. And it's a much bigger sort of opportunity for this kind of communication because there's also SMS, like text. So that's the thing I think is, like, if you can choose
Yeah.
how you're going to get your information, I want mine through email, I want mine through
Yeah,
text.
'cause I got it on my, yeah.
That is, we're piloting it with a classroom at each building, starting next week, I think. So it's coming, but I feel like that would allow you to choose your own adventure, so to speak. Like, I want to see this way.
Do we have video boards or TVs?
That's what we were just talking about. I'm asking Sean.
In every classroom?
Yes.
Clear touches.
Clear touch?
Clear touches or,
Or projection.
or projectors, some
Okay,
teachers
so
don't like using.
do we utilize those to do like the morning announcements to?
That's what we were talking about. There's a slide
set of
deck
slides
that gets,
this year. It's really
every
good.
day is updated with the announcements.
Okay.
And it gets put on a loop in every homeroom on
Okay.
the board.
It's
on the-
emailed to both the teachers and the students.
But it's also on, comes up on the board, so you
Yes,
can
and
read
so
it?
what we're asking
Just
Mr.
like-
Maroney is, can we have that running in the main entrance of the high school if we put a new TV back in the glass?
It used to be like
And
50 TVs.
I remember, it freaked me out a little.
It was so high-tech.
It really
And
was.
In the
State of the
CAP,
art.
there are 2 TVs, have that running every day in the CAP TVs as well. That's what we're asking Mr. Maroney on this email that I'm sending.
Okay.
Another method of communication that I know helps me a lot, helps me not miss stuff, is some clubs use Remind. I don't,
We can't use that.
okay,
But class text better.
okay.
Remind doesn't follow the data privacy requirements for
Got it.
schools. So if you're still using it, I'd rather not.
Okay.
No, I'm just kidding.
Well, a staff member
A
should
staff
not be
member should
using
not
it.
be using it at this point, but
Alright,
class tech will be able to do, it's exactly that,
but, okay.
like on
Okay.
steroids.
Yeah, because
Very excited.
I know that Instagram is used a lot for sports.
Theaters also.
Theater, yeah, I run the theater account.
So it's awesome.
No, a lot of times I'm like, oh, I gotta post that, and then I forget to do it. No, it's a lot, but it's a lot of times it's student run. So a lot of times, like, there are the, like, Instagrams for athletic teams, and it's student run, and eventually it just gets passed down. So, like, I'm the only one who has access to the theater Instagram. I'm the one who runs it.
So
And-
it's only as good as the person posting, really.
Exactly, and like I said, I forget to do stuff. So,
Along that line, though, is there information that is not included in the slides that as students you would like, I mean, I know the clubs and all that stuff, but is there stuff from the administration that you would like to know about? You know, are there things from school committee meetings that you think should be included? You know, I know we kind
half-day
of.
schedules.
Hmm?
We don't get the
Half-day
half-day
schedule.
schedule
Oh, really?
at all.
What do you mean, when
First-
there's a half day?
When there's a
or-
half-day, we don't know what times the class ends.
It
We
goes
don't,
out every- I always get it.
we don't.
Teachers get it, but students don't.
Well, that's
That's very easy to fix.
That is good to know, so.
We used to get it from Mr. Mercado.
Yeah, it'd be nice if you got it the Friday before a Monday, and like you got it on the Monday that there's gonna be a Friday, you know what I mean? Like,
Yeah.
Whenever it goes out to the teachers, it should.
They
oh,
can
yeah,
just do it, yeah.
yeah.
But is there anything else that, you know, you think would be helpful knowing from the administration? Or anything?
Assemblies.
Assemblies?
We don't know when assemblies are.
We don't?
No.
No, this is kind of a surprise, Andrew.
We know that it's kind of happening, but we don't know the times.
Is there one on Tuesday?
There's one on Wednesday, we have Diversity
Oh,
Day.
Wednesday.
We have the 1 o'clock show and the 2 o'clock show.
Sure.
Show.
All right, well, if there are things that as you go home and go about your day and you're like, you know, I really would like to know what the principal, you know, is considering policy changes in the handbook, you know, or things like would policy changes be helpful to put up there, like, hey, a reminder, don't use your phones, which we're gonna talk about in a minute.
With a
I don't
QR
know.
code for more information.
Yeah. It's been a long day. All right, well, thank thank you all for that input. I guess up next, if no one else has anything else to add to the communication item, we're going to move on to MMHS after-school activities and student participation obstacles. I believe this one, Dawn, is this one of your,
Yep.
okay?
So, first question is everyone aware of what activities are available?
To an extent.
Yes. What?
To an extent. Not everyone knows everything that's going on. We have so many clubs.
Yeah.
They don't
feel
know
like
where to
that's
find the list.
Dependent on the club's ability to advertise.
Yeah.
And there is a list which we sent out last year.
We did?
We did.
I
Can
guess
you
we did.
elaborate on that ability to advertise? What do you mean by that?
So a lot of clubs will either put their things in the Mashpee Minute, or they will put up posters and stuff like that. So a lot of the way that clubs get their recognition is by going and saying, hey, can we put this on either the Daily Slides or the Mashpee Minute, or can we put up these posters? And then it's from people either seeing those posters or hearing it by word of mouth or by seeing it on the Mashpee Minute, that they then go to those teachers and be like, oh, hey, I want to join this.
Do we have a policy in the handbook on advertising for
No.
that? Well, not advertising, but
advertising, no.
like, lack of a better word,
Promoting.
promoting,
No, there's no,
soliciting membership, like,
No,
to
that
standardize
wouldn't
it?
be a- No.
again, it's kind of like Eve with Instagram, it's very teacher-specific of how they go about it.
Okay.
There's plenty of opportunities to make sure it's very publicized for kids.
Yeah, but this wouldn't be a policy thing.
I'm
it's
just
more
thinking
of a-
equitable, like.
Yeah, but that, again, would be that would be a
Guidelines?
procedure.
Okay.
That would be
Alright.
run by the
Okay.
school council probably, but if you're not hearing about, like, you need to communicate that to your.
And I
to
know
your-
that the Program of Studies Night, which is next Tuesday night, they're, in the Hall of Flags, they're supposed to have tables of all the clubs with student representatives at the tables, just promoting for the parents that are coming, and, you know, heavily emphasis on rising seventh graders, just to sort of know the opportunities. We could, in the fall, because generally they run for a whole year, have sort of an assembly or a display at lunch to say, here's all the clubs that we're going to be offering this year as an FYI, and so that kids know.
I believe from what I've been told, that someone in our grade is planning on having a club fair for their senior project.
Ooh, love
I
that.
like
Which I
that.
think is a really good idea.
I agree.
I think that should be incorporated in program studies. I would like to say, I'm sorry, this is a little bit of a tangent. I believe everyone should go to program of studies. I think it is very important to diversify your knowledge about our different offerings here at school. That way you can become very interactive with your school community and with your schedule, and kind of take control of that by learning what offerings we have. Please go to
Did someone write that down
Program
so you can
studies.
make that announcement on the
That was
Mashpee
an
Minute?
idea.
'Cause that's your
Although I
plug.
think they filmed the Mashpee Minute this
We
afternoon.
They
did
did.
not.
Can I- do you-
The equipment was broken.
Oh, so there's
Oh.
time still. Do you know that you're having a program of studies day as well?
I've been told,
Yes.
I have no clue what's happening.
You don't have to, you're gonna just show up.
Well, it's a morning schedule of,
You're gonna rotate through departments, and it's the 30th, it's the same day as program of studies
And there's a
night,
guest speaker.
but it's a day, so that you will go through the departments and learn about all the courses that are available. You'll also have time with a speaker, and I think with your guidance counselor. So it's pretty much all the things that people don't show up for on program of studies night. You're gonna at least have an opportunity to hear from the departments that day.
What I think
So-
We're excited about.
that's really important going into quarter three, because we have the course selection. And I know the course selection thing last year was like an answered prayer. It was so nice to be able to look at everything and go, we have that.
Yes, and now you'll get that plus the teachers talking about their programs, and you can answer questions.
Dawn?
So I'm a little baffled, I guess, because as a school committee, we're aware that this was going to happen for a while now. And it's amazing to hear that students don't know about this.
which is the this.
The Program of Studies Day.
About the Program of Studies Day and what you're planning to do, which is different from what we've done in the past. But, you know, and I think that from my perspective, what you're proposing to do is a great step forward. And I would think that that's something we ought to be shouting from the mountaintop loudly and often, so that the students are aware that this is going to be happening, so that they don't come to a meeting like this and this is the first time you hear about it.
But even to go one step further, that way, if they know for a fact, like, I don't need to talk to the foreign language department because I'm staying with the language I've got, but I want to learn more about what's offered in social sciences or social studies, they might make a better plan of attack for it.
It's a very scheduled rotation of, like, it's not total freedom. There is a schedule where they're going to spend time with each of the departments, whether they want to change a language or not. You can't run Principal McSweeney's been putting a lot of work with the department heads into planning that day, and there are a lot of moving parts. We do have Jason Cross, which was a speaker that students had in maybe it was last year.
It was.
From Khalees Warnham. There's a tribal talk that didn't get to happen in November that's coming back, so there's pieces of that. There's a lot of moving pieces. I will say much of it has been communicated on an ongoing basis to department heads, to teachers. The fact that it may not be getting to students is sort of an all-inclusive responsibility that we need to do a better job, from the administrators to the teachers, to make sure that the students...
And the students don't have to prepare anything for this. They're just the receivers of the information.
Right.
So
And
Well, they could prepare questions. I'm sorry, I will push back on that statement, because I think if a student has questions about a certain course, I think them being able to prepare questions might make them more informed about making decisions for their schedule, I guess is the way I look at it.
Mm-hmm.
Like, I understand, okay, great, it's not necessarily like them walking around and cultivating their own interest. They're going to have to go through this in a prescribed manner, but I think if the students are aware that...
So, and I know that they've created this, I'm going to call it like a passport document. It looks like that. So every student gets that. Beginning of the day, they put their name on it. But within each grade level, there's also the list of sort of, this is what you have to pick from, and these are courses. And yes, the program of studies, which the booklet itself, that has all the course descriptions. I don't know if it's been finalized.
It was being printed this week.
Right, where you can actually read a little bit more, but we wanted the teachers to have the opportunity to market their courses. What does, American Superhero mean? And it's also, like we talked about either with this group or the other group, about when teachers sort of promote the course and make you feel like they want you to be in it, many more children choose to be in it when they think the teacher wants them in it.
But I think the takeaway here is not to presume that information is filtering down to the ultimate participants in the process.
Okay. Is it an assembly where you explain it to the kids 2 weeks ahead of time? Is it an
No,
email that they don't check?
Well, I think it's...
I send them my Friday communication. It wasn't, there's not a schedule built into that. We can talk to Principal McSweeney to make sure, hopefully by...
I don't have the answer to that
No, I
question.
know, I don't have the answer.
But I think we can all identify that that's something that we need to figure out.
I don't necessarily agree with that, but I certainly hear that you do, for sure.
Well,
I don't, can you explain why you're pushing on
I'm
it?
pushing on this because it's something that the students would not be preparing for. They're literally just the receivers. I'm just going to finish and then I promise I'll stop talking. But they're the receivers of the information, which they then meet with their guidance counselors or go back to teachers for questions when they do course selection, which is a whole different bag of worms. So they're just getting the information, having the program of studies in front of them, and then processing through, okay, now, I'm looking at this Mandarin thing. I really want to go talk to Mrs.
So it's really just them being talked at. They're not really
It's not participatory in terms of
Okay.
like.
It's not Q&A.
Q&A.
Yeah, okay.
I guess I had a very different understanding of this process, and now I'm not sure the value of
They
it.
do have an
I'll be honest.
opportunity when the smaller group of students is before the social studies department, Mr. Brody and his whole team.
He's going to be talking at them about, here are all the courses
Yes,
that
I
social
would-
studies has.
Yes,
And this is
but
this class, and
Well,
this
it
is this
depends on
class.
who's in front of you. So if it's a group of 11th graders, they're going to talk about the 12th grade social studies classes. And they're going to say,
I appreciate that,
these
yeah.
are the options.
Yeah.
It's not every social studies class.
There will be time, I'm sure.
Yes.
No, I'm saying, so it's more specific than that.
Yes, but the students will not be able to ask questions on the courses. They're just going to here are the courses that are available to you as this student at this level. This class is this class is this class is
No,
this.
I wouldn't
I wouldn't go that far.
Well, that's kind of what you were just
I would not
describing.
say
in a
that they're
sense.
not going to have, student voice matters, they're not going to not have an opportunity to ask questions or follow up. It's not going to be just like, okay, here, I've got my social studies list of courses, and I teach these 3, and I teach, you know, like, what are you going to say when you talk about U.S. history? Like, it is what it is. So it is, here's all the things we offer, here's the limited electives we're going to offer. I would not even picture it not being an opportunity for kids to ask questions.
Okay, but then to that point,
Then they should be able
they
to
should
prep.
be able to prep for
Yeah,
it.
I guess I just don't
No,
see
based
that
on what
level
they're
of need.
hearing, they're going to ask questions. based on
Yeah,
what they're
and
hearing.
also, they know program of studies night is always something that they can go to and ask those
If their
questions.
parents aren't working.
Right, so again,
get
I
them
don't know
there.
that we're going to agree on this. I
No, I
think because
know.
I'm in the middle of it, of the planning with it, it feels like just a big sort of amount of conversation about something that's very not as big a deal. But the students are sitting here, so you guys can
And I
say
just want
if
to
you don't
say,
feel prepared,
or
I'm
note,
sorry.
in terms of an improvement, we noticed that very few students and parents come to program of studies nights. It is most heavily attended by rising 7th graders. Miss Principal McSweeney visited every 6th grade class yesterday to promote them coming. So this year, the decision was made with Principal McSweeney and the team that we need to do a better job of interacting and informing the current students. So this is a step towards that direction. It is not necessarily something that, other than knowing the day is coming and whether they have their, regular classes or not, they don't really need to know a lot of the details. And it is the first time, so I'm sure it's going to have some glitches.
I do have one thing to say. When I was in 8th grade,
Yes, that's a big
something
year.
similar happened in my ancient civics class. No, ancient civilization, sorry. We had, not for me, sorry. We had one of the teachers, Miss Reynolds, come in to present
Yes.
On AP Human.
to present AP Human Geography to us. And I know that was what really inspired me to do it. And it's not just a teacher talking at you, it's a teacher really talking about the course material, what it's about, and why you should be in it. So from my perspective, as someone that has happened to before, I think that's what this is going to be like, a presentation of each of the courses and materials. And I know afterwards there was some time left for Q&A, not a ton, but she also said, email me, come to me with any questions. So I feel like it might not be the exact right answer. Will we ever have an exact right answer? Most likely not, but it's definitely a step in the right direction. So I feel
No, I'm not,
It's-
I agree. I think this is a very important thing for students to participate in. I mean, I think it's important for you to know what your options are. I guess I just look at it a little differently.
I think to what Andrew, because I was thinking it and I was going to say something before, but there's a difference between here's a list of what you can take and then versus seeing a teacher that's their subject and
It's
they're
like-
passionate
But
about
my
it.
understanding
And they
is,
get you passionate about it because you see
but it's not just one course. They're going to
Yeah.
be presenting the entire
Yes.
department. So it
Yes.
won't be as in-depth as that one teacher giving the one course, giving,
But the speaker could reach someone just.
oh, no, I'm not
Yeah.
denying that fact.
Yeah.
I just, again,
Yeah. I get where you're coming from though.
And I think a lot of times, because kids will ask me, especially the 9th and 8th graders that I know from theater and band, and they're like, well, what do I take?
yes.
And I have mostly positive experiences with my teachers, I will say that, mostly because I don't judge people from a conversation with them. But a lot of times kids will get bad ideas about the teacher and then kids don't want to take their class.
Yeah.
And I can tell you I've heard a lot of bad things about teachers that I have now and I absolutely love them. So it's good, I think, that teachers will go and they'll talk to kids because it's coming from them and not from kids who are obviously biased towards some subject or something. So.
And sometimes as kids don't understand the motivation of the way the teacher teaches,
Or just because you don't like
Yeah.
one
You
teacher,
don't like
you
the
don't get
subject.
along great.
Yeah.
I happen to get along great
Yeah.
with that teacher or whatever too.
learning
That's a great
styles too, I
point.
think.
Yeah.
you know.
Yes, definitely.
Dawn, you have
Well, don't you think having it presented to you is more informative potentially than just having a piece of paper given to you that outlines the course of study? And I'll look at this side of the table too.
I think they're both very helpful.
But would you be more inclined if someone's presenting something to you, that might be a little more interesting as you've outlined than just reading it on a piece of paper?
I feel like when it's on a piece of paper, it's just words, and you just necessarily don't understand what you're taking. But when a teacher comes and tells you, this is the course, this is what you're going to learn, people are more motivated to take it.
I gotta say, from my experience, I would not have taken AP if Ms. Reynolds hadn't done that presentation, so.
All right. Any other comments about, we kind of got off of after-school activities and got more into other things, but did anyone have anything else they wanted to add about after-school activities or any obstacles? We do know the late bus is a massive obstacle, and we are, if you know anyone, if you have an older friend who is old enough to drive a school bus,
We'll train them.
we will train them. We will pay them.
I'm driving a school bus for UMass Amherst, so he can drive the school bus.
Yeah, but he's not here.
We need them here, yes, that is a key element so that we can implement we did ask our finance director, Ashley Lopes, to look at a couple other options that hopefully she'll look into and kind of let us know, but for you guys, it is something we are aware of. We have the bus, we have the funding, we need a person.
They're going to put it in the Southport Falcons
You know?
newsletter, by the way.
Sure.
If they want
We
to
just did
drive.
that today.
You only have to commit to
Yeah.
an hour and a half a
So,
day.
but if you know, like if you've got a next door neighbor that you're like, hey, next door neighbor, you'd be a great bus driver, like, whatever. We will train them, we have the money, we have the bus. And then you guys can have an after-school bus, which I think will clear up a lot of the obstacles to participation, but.
So I think a lot of times it's like, oh, the older kids have a car
Yeah.
and they can drive.
No.
What I can't drive people for another 3 months. Like,
And I'll be honest, that is not the
cannot do
perception
that.
of the school committee. We know that, and not everybody does have a car, and that's an equity issue as well. So to be equitable, we need a bus.
Yeah.
And it's not just for clubs, it's for tutoring, it's
Yeah.
for extra help,
Everything.
it's for
Yeah.
everything. And I know there are people who, I know a family who pulled their kids out of MASH because they didn't have the late bus and couldn't get their kids home from extra help. So it is impacting, and I know we as a committee are aware of it, but we're working on it, so.
Because kids don't have rides, or their rides are late, and then I'm like, well, I can't, I don't want to leave you here, but we have no option.
No,
Like,
yeah.
they just can't do it.
Nope, we don't want anyone breaking the law.
So, just to kind of finalize, one last question. So, besides the bus, which we already have talked about and are keenly aware of, if I ask the question, or, I was going to I wanted to do this, but, what do you hear is the rest of that?
I wanted to join this club,
But, what was said after that?
But I don't have a ride.
Yes.
Yeah.
It's the ride that's,
it's really just the ride.
Or I
But,
have like too much homework or something like
yeah,
that.
or I have to go somewhere.
I have a sport. It's
Like, the most, school-based reason is the bus.
And you don't think I guess my other question, Eve, you mentioned there's just so many options. Are there too many options to pick? And people just say, you know what, I'm not going to do any because I can't pick.
I don't think so. I feel like every club has a good amount of people. I never heard of anyone being strung in between too many clubs, really. Like, there are some situations, but I think that, me personally, this is my opinion, I believe that comes down to time management and real-world skills of choosing which would be more
Yeah.
beneficial
Just
or...
was curious your thoughts because I know we do offer a lot, so I didn't know.
there's also like a lot of flexibility when it comes to that stuff because like honor society is on Thursdays, but then like our student council meetings are on Mondays, so there's different days of the week that you can go to a different club.
The hardest part is everyone sometimes likes to schedule on top of each other, and I'm like, I have a better schedule this year, but last year I would have 3 things on Wednesday, and I'm like, I am one person. I cannot be in 3 places at once, and then you're running around.
Well, one thing they did this year, but maybe, and I hear like maybe it's working, is all of the middle high school folks put a calendar together and they put
The
their clubs
communication
on there.
between clubs
And
has
so
been-
that when
that's
I'm
good.
like Miss Riley and I'm doing Key Club, but I see that I can't do Wednesdays anymore because there's POSA is during that or whatever. So I'm glad to hear that it's not as bad
Yeah,
as last year.
I mean, just genuinely, I'm not in every single club on the
No,
universe.
when you
so-
can't be.
You can't say
Right,
everything.
and something like theater or sports, those are everyday activities that you could, God bless you.
Thank you.
But that's great to hear.
Yeah.
All right. Anything else? Okay, moving on. The next item we have is student advisory committee participation on school committee, subcommittees, and working groups. So you have page 2 of your packet is this really awesome color-coded sheet. These are all of the different subcommittees and working groups,
God bless.
bless you,
Sorry.
that the school committee has. As student advisory committee members, you guys are able to participate in these meetings. I know it's another thing, we were just talking about being involved in too many things, but student voice is one of our big goals and something I personally value, and I think I speak for the rest of the committee that we do value your voices, and having a voice on some of these subcommittees and working groups I think could be beneficial, particularly policy. Those are the things that really impact your lives as students. Curriculum, I don't think negotiations, but I mean, if you wanted to.
Sorry.
It's okay. But then also, outreach and engagement working group, the finance working group, if you wanted to learn more about how budgets are made and that kind of thing. I guess I just wanted to plant the seed that you are able to join. If one of you said, you know what, I really, numbers really excite me and I really want to learn about the budget, finance working group would be the place you could jump in and come to our meetings, and we would schedule them accordingly so that you could attend, whether it's virtual or in person. We can do it either way. But if you wanted to start learning, how does this work? How do we make sure that we have the money for that late bus? Or how do we make sure we've got enough stuff in the athletic line item, that we have uniforms and transportation to games? Again, I wanted to put this out here. This is this year's kind of breakdown of who's on what. Don?
I'm in stable.
Serious child.
So how do you envision, I guess, that working, because of the time when most of those meetings are happening?
Policy's next Monday at 5:30.
Yeah.
Right, but a lot of them are during the day.
Virtually.
Yeah,
Just as a reminder.
I know. But I think of the ones that, like the finance working group that I'm on, that's meets during the day. Negotiations usually is right after school. And knock on wood, we won't have any this year anyway.
We're doing the We're halfway through this year, and yes, next year we
Right, but the rest
We're
of
also
them-
doing the rubrics currently.
Yeah.
so we still meet with them.
Oh. You haven't come back to.
I wouldn't wish that on you, I guess.
To the committee about that. I'm just wondering if there are meetings during the day, do you envision that the students would, how do you envision that working? Do they get out of class to do
I mean,
this?
or the committee members that are on that could kind of explain when there was a meeting, they could do a recap.
Okay, so I think we're getting two different things here.
Yeah.
To Don's point, the meeting could be held at the high school. Nothing says it has to be at the superintendent's office. I mean, we could meet at the high school if the student, if it's during their homeroom period, or if it's a class that they're comfortable being out of, if it's something that they're not going to miss a ton of time and they're up to date and all
Like
that.
a direct to study.
or a directed study, but if they had, say they have, an A+ in Spanish and they can miss one Spanish class, because they don't meet on a very regular basis, they're very much, as needed in a sense. I guess I didn't see it as too much of a scheduling issue, and I know Superintendent DeBoer and I kind of talked about it and
So it'd be an excused absence for the,
We don't have excused absence anymore, we have verified absences.
there'd be
There are
verified
no
absence?
Yeah,
They
it would be-
verified that you
However, if
came
a
to
student
the...
missed
It can be worked
a
out with the teacher.
a period, they're not going to be marked absent. It's going to be marked
Okay.
guided.
So
or
when
it's
we
gonna be
meet with
marked-
the group of kids we meet with once a month, an email goes to those teachers so that they know that that's a verified absence.
Okay.
There's also field trip.
Yeah, there's that.
Field trips.
There's also the-
I mean, again, there's no requirement, but I did want to at least discuss it with the 5 of you so that you know if there's something that you are interested in or you would like to bring your voice to or represent the student body in, you are able to do that. You just would need to let Superintendent DeBoer, myself, Andrew, one of us know that you are interested in participating and we can facilitate that. But this was more just letting you know, and if you had questions about any of these groups, Andrew.
I'm sorry.
That's okay.
I would also like to say, as a senior, to the juniors in here, that would be a wonderful way to get experience on how the school committee works going forward to help lead this program further.
Thank you.
Good job.
That is a wonderful plug.
This is another one of Andrew's hint, 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 hint. I think you should take over for me next year.
Well,
I'm not telling you what to do.
I mean, it is a way to get, I mean, he's not wrong. It is a way to understand the inner workings of the school committee. Aside from attending the meetings and sitting with us, once a month, although this month it's been 3 times so far, which isn't a bad thing, but. So I don't know. I guess does anybody have any questions about any of these committees or working groups before we move on?
I just had a question
Go
on
for it.
how we'd, apply to be on it?
Oh, just send
Or
it.
you just send an
Just an email.
Okay.
But also if you want to be notified, yeah. just
The
let Mrs.
subcommittees,
DeBoer
well,
know.
and the subcommittees are open meetings,
Right,
but
but I'm
usually.
saying, like, if you let Mrs. DeBoer know that you have the slightest interest in any one of these, she will make sure you are included on the emails around schedule.
And for a sake of like expectation management and like anxiety of like something new, because I know that sometimes trying to like attend something or like, going to something like this, I don't think that there would, at least for me, like there'd be any anticipation of you having to like provide like guaranteed like do-outs or anything like that. More so like, you'd be active listening and asking questions or things like that, but there wouldn't be like an expectation that you're gonna come to one of these things and like you guys
He's
owe us
just
something,
speaking for his committees, of mine, you're gonna have to
Yeah.
like.
It's just my
There's a
opinion,
skit.
if this is a learning,
Anywhere her name
if this
is,
is a
don't
learning
find
thing, it's an opportunity to learn about it, like, I wouldn't want to scare anyone away and like then think like, oh, I'm getting a subcommittee and now like, on top of homework and school and home life and all that stuff that like, you get unmanageable workload, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
So.
Obviously, school is gonna come first,
Yeah.
so like, don't ever worry, like, not trying to add to a plate, but putting it out there if you are interested and have the capacity to do so and would like to do so. Here's the list of opportunities for you. So that is my shameless plug to get more voice on those groups. All right, next, we're almost done. MMHS policy, cell phone, personal electronic devices, and Chromebooks. I think this came about, I believe Dawn brought this up, but I also had questions as well about the policy that has been enacted this year about cell phone use and personal device use and using the Chromebooks. I guess hearing your thoughts on, I know we heard in the beginning of the year, the very initial comments, and I remember Eve talking about inconsistencies in enforcing the policy. I guess for me, and I've heard things as well, is that still an issue? Are you seeing people adhering to it still? Is it a problem? Thoughts, comments?
I mean, I think it's gotten to the point where kids just don't care. Like, they're gonna get a phone slip, they're gonna get a phone slip. They're not gonna get a phone slip, they're not gonna get a phone slip. Like, kids have just kind of adapted to it. And they've kind of just figured it out. Personally, I do my hardest not to use my phone during the day unless I am supposed to be using it. So yeah, I mean, it's always going to be an issue. So
I will say that students are more, they understand the cell phone and personal electronic device policy. They might not agree with it, but they respect it. The bring your own device policy, students are very against, and I know I've heard of some students who plan on coming to some of the school committee meetings to make public comment on it. They're very against the bring your own device, like the policy, and there are a lot of inconsistencies with different teachers on how it's being enforced on different people.
Do you want to add anything? Anyone?
I've heard just about the device, bring your own device. A lot of people, yeah, they don't really agree with they'd like to bring their own device because of personal reasons, and I don't know, they just would prefer to use their own.
Yeah, from what I've heard, it's just that, well, pretty much, for lack of a better term, the Chromebooks suck, and they can't handle anything really.
They're slow. They're slow.
I will say, out of personal experience, it takes 20 minutes to half an hour to load up AP Classroom,
yeah,
which is just a website. It doesn't want to work.
And the hall pass too?
Oh, Hall Pass takes forever.
it was my Chromebook. I got a new Chromebook this year, like brand new, and I had my old Chromebook, like literally got to the point where I just said to my teacher, because they're like, oh, do a hall pass. I'm like, can you just do it? Because it's going to take me, like, the hall pass just isn't even loading. And, like, even now with the new Chromebook, it's been better, but still, sometimes, like, you're trying to do so much on such a small device. And obviously, we have the Chromebooks because, obviously, the school needed to buy them in bulk, and they're cheaper that way, and it's
Grants,
understandable
yeah.
why we do not have
Yep.
top quality because we are a public school system. But there's just sometimes where it's just, you're waiting, and you're waiting, and you're waiting, and you're trying to get your schoolwork done, and it's just taking forever.
Are you seeing, as you're waiting, like, the whole class is waiting? Or is it
Yeah.
just one or two? It's the whole class, unless that one kid who smuggled their personal device and somehow, like, has it open and working?
When I can speak from experience, if me, Mario, and Paige were in AP Environmental, or we were taking a test, a lot of people didn't have time to finish the test because it took so long to load the website and then load the test and then load each question.
And then you couldn't, because you had to go to a new, it had to load, like,
It took like 20 minutes to half an hour to load, even just the homepage. Then when you clicked on the test, it took like 5 minutes to load, and then each question took a little bit to load.
when you're using the Chromebooks outside of school, if you're using them outside of school, do you still have the issue with the timeliness?
Yes.
Yeah, 'cause that was my next question.
Yeah.
Is like, is it a connectivity issue or is it a, yeah?
Is it a bandwidth?
I mean, it goes a little bit faster because, like, genuinely, the school Wi-Fi, it's good, but, like, there's a lot of people on it.
Exactly.
And there's only so much Wi-Fi that can go to your specific device when you're trying to have 20 other people in the same classroom.
So in that instance where you weren't able to finish your test, were you able to go and complete it later, or was it?
Yeah.
Yeah, we went back in after school.
Did you have to bring it to the teacher, or did the teacher recognize that the class just didn't complete, like,
Well,
I guess, how
we
did that?
kind of, like, we're like, Mr. Telly, it's not loading. She's like, okay, we'll figure something out, don't worry. And we figured something out, so.
Okay.
If you want my take on it, I believe that those devices that we buy in bulk are made by the manufacturer to be disposable in 4 to 5 years. So after that 4 to 5 years is over, like when I'm in senior year, if I had the same Chromebook from 8th grade, it just wouldn't work as well. And it just wouldn't work at all in some cases. Like, I know it's not anything wrong with the parts, anything wrong with the software, with any of that. It's that their manufacturers are making them to be disposable so they can get more money from the school. Because then that means every 4 years, they get a whole new round of Chromebooks to sell to the school.
Yeah.
Kids also beat their Chromebooks up.
Oh, yeah.
They beat their Chromebooks up really bad.
That's also an issue.
Which impacts
That's a
their,
whole
yeah.
separate issue, though.
That might impact their use as well.
Is it okay if I ask a question
Yeah.
to the students? And I can't remember because I've been out this year a few times. Have we talked to you about the Securely and the reason for the requirement of bring your own device? So we have a program called Securely that monitors and tracks the usage of where kids go, where anybody goes, actually the adults too. I get the alerts, it's super fun. And I used to say when I lived up there, I'd be like, dude, I don't want to see this, I don't want to get this Securely alert on you. Like, stop opening a Google Doc and texting each other on the Google Doc. We know you do it, and I'm reading it right now, in case you didn't know. Yeah, I did, I saw them all. Point is, if you bring your own device, we can't monitor and track, and there's definitely a safety concern around that. The Securely program that we have has saved several lives since we implemented it, where things came to us, alerts of Google searches and things that were being looked at, and people were at very, very severe risk. And so from my perspective, I struggle to say, because I don't want it to be slow. Right now, the internet's not working for me and I'm taking your minutes and I'm about to lose my mind. Like, it's driving me crazy. I don't know the answer of, like, perhaps we put more money into buying laptops for juniors and seniors. I don't know, but I just want to put out there that it's not because we're mean or because we want you all to be, it's because the risk to not the 5 of you, but to your friends, your peers, is too high from my perspective for me to be able to sleep at night.
And if it's any consolation, the students that I've spoken with, because, like with Girl Scouts, I'm not just hearing from my own child, or from this group, I'm hearing from other students. I don't think that's the concern. I think the frustration is in the speed of the devices.
Completely.
And
But I
hearing the
just wanted them to
tests
know
are impacted
why.
is a little, concern. Like, if it's impacting the learning experience, I guess that's where I look and say, like, to your point, is there a grant for a better, I mean, we get our Chromebooks through a grant, for those of you who don't know. Most of them are funded, right? And we also get CPC funds as well, right? Didn't we get?
We take the, quantity goes before the capital improvement because of the.
But I thought we had a
spending
grant for something.
No, we
No,
lease
but-
them, and
Okay.
there's a so you have it 5-year lease? I
And we
think they
did
have?
just purchase, because of listening to what the AP challenges were, in October 31st, I think the order had to go in, and it was meant to replace what Andrew talked about, those kids who have had their Chromebooks since 8th grade, so that 11th and 12th graders could have the newer one. But I think it's a question for Mr. Maroney to be looking at the product that we're buying to see if there's 2 levels up that we should be looking at that would do more, satisfy the needs of our students. Or maybe they're out there.
And the other piece, we had told your friends who needed like the devices for certain classes that they were taking, I have to have this program and it won't go on a Chromebook. We've purchased desktops or laptops that stay in school for them to use along with the software that they need, because there should never be an access issue around it. What I'm hearing, unfortunately, is that your day-to-day stuff is impacted in such a negative way that the committee might have to consider changing funding around to purchase either different devices or, I mean, we already were putting in place that 10th graders were going to get upgraded Chromebooks, right?
Yeah, well, yes.
Next year?
Yes, and part of it too, having a conversation today with the principal of this school, students in grades 7 through 12 take their Chromebooks home in the summer. They need sort of a cleaning out. They need to get rid of all the cookies and all the different things, and they need to be sort of serviced maybe in the downtime. We're finding that with the computers in this school that kids don't take home. So I think it's worth also having a conversation with Mr. Maroney if there is a time period that we should, whether it's giving kids a set of directions or you do it, okay, everybody in homeroom, open your Chromebooks, this is what we're going to do to get them, because they probably would speed up, but there's probably a lot of things in there that are clogging it.
Like almost like a remote re-imaging of the device.
Well, kind of to speak to that point, is a lot of stuff on the Chromebooks is blocked, and I understand why, but it's like, if we want to clear out our cookies, we can't do that. I can't access my cookies to clear them out. I've tried, because I get terrible advertisements all the time, and they won't go away. I can't clear my cookies.
Which is
to get rid of
probably
them.
also slowing your device down.
Yeah.
And
because-
the only way to get rid of that is to remove yourself from the device,
Yeah.
which you only remember during the school day when you're in class, and that takes forever to read.
Yes.
So I wonder, even at the higher level where there is control over all the Chromebooks, if there's anything that can be done at that level to clean them out or to...
We can definitely look at all of
We
that.
can look
I'm
at
not
that.
sure it's going to solve the College Board problem.
No.
And
Well, that might also just be College Board's website.
right now, I've been trying to get on College Board since this meeting started, and
Yes.
it's still circling.
But that's-
However, I'm on a MacBook also, I'm not on a Chromebook. Regardless, we need it to work. This
Yeah.
is your textbook, this is your everything.
It's your everything,
Right.
really.
So we can ask Mr. Maroney to come to the next, maybe not the next, I don't know what's on the agenda, but to a school committee meeting and discuss this.
Yeah, that'd probably be, I personally would like that, I don't know, Dawn, yeah, I think the committee
Yeah,
would
sure.
benefit.
Mr. Maroney and Ms. Brooks.
I think we would benefit from that, because on one hand, I understand the safety concerns of the programs that are installed on these, and I don't think anyone sitting at this table would argue about having those in place, but I am hearing the time issue, and I can see why that would entice some students to bring their own device so that they are able to
Yeah.
function and not be frustrated, like, especially if you're taking a test. I know for me, that would probably stress me out more than words could say, and I'd be like, I don't think I would have dealt well with that, so.
I think it might be good for Ms. Maroney, if they get some of these concerns that, because they may have some of the same concerns or issues and may not have known, hey, how to present it or who to present it to, or because maybe on his end, he sees gaps of resources or gaps of things that maybe he's seen that there's issues with the devices, and I just to give the opportunity before.
Oh,
it
yeah,
comes to-
yeah, absolutely.
before they come to a meeting, so it's not like ambush.
No, this is not a new conversation.
Yeah,
I had a tech
yeah.
meeting, today Wednesday? This morning,
Yeah.
with Mr. Maroney and Ms. Brooks, and this conversation came up. So it's not anything he's not
Yeah,
aware
okay,
of.
cool.
I just know from a financial perspective,
Yeah.
it's a huge jump to
It
go
is.
from Chromebooks
Yeah.
to laptops,
Yeah.
and so.
If I can add, the only real possible suggestion is, as you guys are talking about, every so often, the next grade gets the newer, updated Chromebook. Let's say
Yeah.
7, 8,
Not.
7, 8, 9, you have one,
Yeah, new one in 10.
new one in 10th, and then so on.
Yeah.
That was the plan that Mrs. DeBoer put
Yeah.
in place to start next year. Again, I just
That's really the only
worry.
thing I can
It's
think
an
of.
increase of, regardless, it's an increase of
Yeah.
bucks,
Right, which I think we're okay with that. It's,
Yeah.
is that even going to be enough, Silas, so
Yeah.
that your AP environmental class? Or even just going to, there's other stuff that you're trying to do that it can't take 20 minutes to load.
Yeah.
No, just your classroom, just getting onto your daily work. I
Right.
mean, I'm hearing that even is taking,
If some of us have funny friends that like to turn off our Chromebooks, if someone
You're so polite about that, I love that.
if someone turns off your Chromebook, that's 20 minutes, 30 minutes
Yeah.
that you're gonna have to spend.
and now you're behind. You're
Yeah.
not-
Yeah.
Yeah, again.
7th
I-
grade was fun.
I think part of the slowness is also one, they have us go through updates a lot, but then they give us an hour to update. I saw a thing today when I was in school, it was update your Chromebook within the hour. Totally forgot to update it.
it just
Within the
restarts.
middle of math,
And
and
it
it
just
just shuts
restarts.
off.
Yeah.
And also, I don't think I can count on my fingers how many times I've gotten a new Chromebook within the Mashpee Middle High School system.
No, it hasn't started yet.
Well, also, just in general, because, 7th grade, we had a bad batch, so the top keys did not work, which is kind of hard when you're trying to write.
Yep.
And I think also a common misconception, and now hearing Dr. Hanscom's side of it, which makes my heart break, is kids think, oh, they don't want us to have our own devices because of cheating. I will say, I have seen kids bypass stuff on their Chromebooks.
Yes.
And
That's always gonna be a
honestly,
thing.
being realistic, and I will not say I've never cheated before, but if I wanted to, Silas, if I wanted to cheat on a paper and I couldn't get AI on my computer, I could easily go home and use the family device that I have at home to use AI to write my paper.
Yeah, it's not for that. It's not about the cheating.
But that's like
If you
what
can
people
spread
think.
that message.
Yes,
Yeah.
and I
No,
think that's a
'cause I-
messaging thing, it's, yeah.
And I think we as a committee understood, like
Yeah.
when this policy came up, we know that you have devices at home most likely, or majority of people do. So that wasn't necessarily, I think, the impetus of this policy as much as it was making sure everybody had a level playing field and the same device, like access to the same device. But hearing that that level playing field has now impacted your, like, education.
Yeah, it's level, it's just.
Yeah, which is not what we want. We don't want lower, we want higher.
I also think with the frequency of people that don't follow the policy, that I've had at least one or two people in every one of my classes that don't follow the policy, and I don't feel like that's an equal play.
And what do
Yeah.
you teach,
And they're not
I guess,
being enforced.
that brings back, the question
Well,
of how is enforcement of those students who have their MacBook out or their PC, laptop out? Like,
I think it really depends if the teacher has the time in their lesson to stop and go, hey, you need to either put it away or go down to the office. It really depends on how busy that teacher is, because if we're in a math class, someone just has it out to do the Kahoot and then puts it away, teacher most likely isn't going to say anything about that
yeah, but
because...
then they won the Kahoot because everybody else was waiting for the questions to load.
But the teacher, I don't really, this might be a little bit of a crass way to say it, but they have bigger fish to fry.
No, yeah.
They
Picking
have-
their battles, yeah, of course.
And I feel like that's part of the issue.
I did talk to Principal McSweeney last week, and I believe she was working with the two assistant principals to sort of collect some data based
Yeah.
on some feedback we've been getting. And so it wasn't widespread, but there were certain teachers that, when they went in those rooms, there were kids being allowed to use their own personal device. So they're addressing that. But like any sort of unified approach to anything, particularly when you're trying to run a whole school and keep it safe and build that climate, it's mostly only as good as the teachers who are on the front lines in the classrooms with the kids, and there can't be different rules in different classrooms, and we've come a long way with sort of the cell phone piece, but I'm sure there's still variances there. This is a perfect example that the teachers have been given a directive, they choose not to follow. And so we have to problem solve around that.
And kids will always find loopholes. They always find loopholes, and I just sit there and I look at them and I'm like,
At your big age.
I don't feel like dealing with this right now.
At your big age.
At your big age.
Some people just will always find a bypass, and I feel like there's some things that we just can't do about that. Not that the policy's wrong, but it's just, there's going to be some people.
Yeah.
Sometimes
Well,
it's not worth finding it.
So I think ultimately what you're pointing out is, even though it's nice that we have a universal standard where everyone gets a Chromebook, the problem really becomes that the first grader and the 12th grader get the same technology, and there's no differential, or no differentiating between really the requirements that are necessary for someone in first grade who's doing, I don't know what they do in first grade, but they're doing something in first grade versus someone at the middle high school who's got a much higher demand. And, I believe, there's technology out there that can accommodate what we're trying to do, and I'm not sure that we have the best solution, particularly on doing it on a universal basis. I do believe it's important that the school committee continue to fund a device for every student. I don't want to move away from that.
I don't think anyone wants that. I definitely think everyone
So,
wants that.
I think that's, kind of the golden rule. And then if we have to spend more money to accommodate better technology that suits what we're trying to accomplish at the middle high school, then we need to be able to determine what that is and address it. You'll never hear me say that
I was like,
again.
did you all hear that?
And I do think it's what Silas said, if we decide that grade 10 is when every 10th grader gets a new device, it should be a better quality, going to meet the needs of those kids for the next 3 years.
Yeah.
There can be tiers of sort of devices.
The only issue I can see with that is the younger grades thinking it's unfair,
Oh, too bad.
I mean, that's going to happen.
But I mean, if
They're
it's
gonna
3
be
years and
upset
3
about it.
years,
But I guess my other question, and I'd be interested to find out, to Dawn's point, are the kindergarten and first graders
No.
they're not experiencing loading issues on their
Well, no,
program?
the computers, the Chromebooks in this school are very slow.
Yeah,
and a
so
lot
it's
of
not
that's
just,
actually, I would just push back a little bit. In 3rd and 4th grade, the Chromebooks in this school are very slow. In 5th and 6th grade, they are not.
Because the sixth grade keeps getting new ones.
The point is, no,
I
at first
disagree
and
with
second, kindergarten and first, no, they are not having
Okay.
those issues. They also do not have the same devices. The devices are older down at the lower elementary and get recycled, but they don't take them home. They don't do the same level of stuff.
Oh, and I appreciate that, but I'm just wondering-
There's less cash and cookies or whatever the words are that happen.
Yeah.
But, no, we.
but 3rd and 4th grade are experiencing it in this building.
Yes, and I think it's because of the maintenance component of what we're doing.
I mean, it's possible. I'm just curious,
Yeah.
because we're hearing it from 7 through 12. Is it happening in the other two buildings as well? Because,
Yeah, not at the Coombs. At this building, it's 3rd and 4th, and we discovered
We have
why,
a why.
we think. So I think we're going to solve that problem.
Okay.
I'm not as worried, although when Mr. Maroney and Ms. Brooks
Yep.
come, they can speak to that
Sure.
too. I'm not as worried about the elementaries. I am very much worried about
oh
the
yeah,
middle high
oh
school.
no. I think we're all in agreement on that, but again, just
No,
point
it's
of
a good question.
interest
A
to.
really good question, because what we said was with 3rd and 4th, this is their school, like their SD math is on this, their reveal math is on this, their wonders is on this, all of their English math, everything is on this, so it has to work.
Anybody else have anything they want to add to this conversation before we move on to the almost end here? Okay, so any items that were not known previously in advance of this agenda? All right, hearing none, I'll entertain a motion to adjourn. Okay.
I got it this
I'll take a
time.
second. Huh?
You need a second?
We
I'll
do.
second.
All right.
Oh, Kelly seconds.
All right, so, Paige,
Thank you.
how do you vote?
Yes.
Marielle?
Yes.
Silas?
Yes.
Don?
Yes.
Matt?
Yes.
Andrew?
Yes.
Eve?
Yes.
And I also am a yes. Thank you, everyone. Don.